Hey, LifeCity Church, Pastor John here, and I just want to give you guys a quick little update on some things that we're working on here as a church, and I just want to encourage you with. God has brought many of you to our church family, some of you recently, and some of you for a while, and yet there's one thing I want to bring up to you that we don't make it a point to talk about all the time, but it's necessary for us to mention occasionally, and that is how we do the work of ministry financially at LifeCity Church. And if you're new to Life City, and especially if you're not even sure about where you are with God, or if you even believe in Jesus, I want you to know first and foremost that we don't want your money. That's not what we're after. That's not even the point of this video. The point of this conversation is not because of what we want from you, but because of what we want for you. And I know that that's something that we say a lot here at Life City Church to those who've been around for a while, but most of us know from personal experience how true that is. And so I just want to talk very briefly on the blessing that it is to be generous with our resources and to trust God with our giving, specifically our giving to our church home, to Life City Church. And I just want to give you 3 reasons really quickly why we teach this and why we believe so much in this. First of all, generosity is part of how we worship God. Generosity is part of how we worship God. When we worship God, we are expressing our love for Him. And there's a direct connection between love and sacrifice. This is true of our relationship with our spouses. This is true of our relationship with our children. This is true of our relationship with a lot of things, with everything. And that's why there's a difference between when I say I love my kids and I say I love chocolate. I don't really love chocolate. I'm not going to sacrifice things for chocolate like I would my kids, hopefully. So there's a difference there. We say all the time, I love God, but when we give, when we are generous with our resources, it is an expression of that love because it involves sacrifice. And this is why we teach the tithe at Life City Church. Those of you who are mature in your faith and trusted God maybe with some smaller portions of your giving in the past, and you've gotten to the place where you know that God is faithful to provide for us when we give the tithe, the 10th of what He's blessed us with. And this is why we believe the Bible teaches this, because God does not call us to equal giving, but He does call us to equal sacrifice. And so we give first and foremost because generosity is a part of how we worship, how we express our love to God. Secondly, we give because generosity demonstrates faith. Generosity demonstrates faith. When we give, we're saying to God and to ourselves, really in a lot of ways, that God, you've provided for me up to this point, and I'm going to give to you, trusting that you're going to continue to provide for me in the future. The one thing that my wife and I say in our marriage and our finances that we've noticed over the course of almost 15 years of marriage and managing our money and giving generously is that God blesses 90% of our resources far better than we can bless 100% of it without Him. Somehow God always takes care of us when we put Him first, when we seek Him first and His kingdom. That God amplifies our resources, that God amplifies our blessings, that God does more for us in a smaller portion than we can do for ourselves. We kept the whole thing to ourselves. So we give because generosity is a part of worship. We give because generosity demonstrates our faith. And then we give because generosity is how we fund the work of our ministry. You see, when we give to Life City Church, you're not just giving to keep the lights on or to keep the meeting space available or our office staff working. What you're doing is you're making it possible for us to preach the gospel to all of Silicon Valley. You're making it possible for us to feed families like we do during Thanksgiving, or to help those in need like we did up in Santa Rosa last year when the fires came through, or to help our friend Enoch Rivera, who's planting Iglesia de Vida in Tijuana. And on we go, these ministries, these opportunities we have to take missions trips together, to send support where it's needed, to one day have a church home, a building of our own, not just an office where we work at some days during the week, but a place where we get to worship God at our will whenever we want to, because it's our place to meet in. And this is part of why we give, because when we give, we are funding the work that God is doing through us. So if you've been blessed by the ministry of Life City Church, if you feel like God's fed your soul, if you feel like God's brought people into your life to encourage you, if you're a part of this church family, we encourage you to consider starting somewhere with your giving. Some of you have been at the same level of giving for a long time. We're going to encourage you to trust God maybe a little bit more in this next season. Some of you have given a little bit of a percentage here or there. We're going to ask you to consider giving a little bit bigger percentage or to begin tithing for the very first time. Some of you haven't given at all, and this isn't a guilt trip, but we're going to encourage you maybe just start giving something. Just maybe not even a tithe, maybe not even a percentage, just a little bit here and there. And we're telling you this not because we're in any kind of financial trouble. We're doing fine. But we're telling you this because we believe that when we work together, when we sacrifice together, that God blesses us together. So we want to include you in on the blessing. So join us this Sunday or any day of the week as we give. You can give online at lifecitynow.org/give. The website's probably going to be at the bottom of this video. And you can go there and give at any time. You can set up recurring giving through the links provided there. Or you can give during the time of worship that we have on Sundays where we drop offerings in the basket. And by doing so, you're worshiping God because you're demonstrating your love for Him. God loves a cheerful giver. And you're also demonstrating your faith because you have to have money to pay bills. You have to have resources to do what you need to do. By doing that, by giving a portion of that, you're saying, God, I trust you to take care of me more than my job, more than the people that pay me. I'm trusting you to be my ultimate provider. And ultimately, it funds the work that God's called us to do as a church family here in Silicon Valley. And so we encourage you to join us in the process and the privilege of giving. So thank you very much for your time. Look forward to being a part of what God continues to do through our church and ministry as we join Him together in our generosity. Love you guys. God bless. Peace out.